384,000 kilometers from home, the most human thing we left on the moon. On the moon, there is no wind, no rain, no sound, nothing moves unless someone moves it. And yet, for more than 50 years, something has quietly remained there, a small, plastic-wrapped photograph of a smiling family from Earth. No one framed it, no one dusts it. The harsh sunlight has likely bleached it into a pale, ghost-like square of plastic. But still, it stays. A promise in the dust. In April 1972, astronaut Charles Duke stepped onto the moon as part of Apollo 16. At 36, he was the youngest person ever to walk on the lunar surface. But while NASA was strict about passenger lists, Duke found a way to bring his family with him. Training for the moon meant months away from home. Like many parents, Duke carried a quiet guilt for the missed birthdays and empty chairs at dinner. To bridge the gap, he made his two sons a promise. "Would y'all like to go to the moon with me?" A quiet act of rebellion. NASA's engineers accounted for every gram of weight and every cubic inch of space. In a world of cold calculations and physics, Duke's photo was a small, quietly rebellious insistence on sentiment. On April 21, 1972, Duke took an ordinary family portrait out of his pocket and placed it gently in the gray dust of the Descartes Highlands. On the back, he had written, "This is the family of astronaut Charlie Duke from planet Earth, who landed on the moon on April 20, 1972. It was a message in a bottle, cast into an ocean of stars. It was an irrational gesture in a highly rational mission. It was the act of a father pinning a drawing to a refrigerator. Except this refrigerator was 384,000 kilometers away. The loneliest portrait in the universe." Imagine that photo now. It has no frame, no wall, and no home except the lunar surface. We know it was there because Duke took a picture of the photo itself before he left. A digital witness to a physical memory. While the radiation has likely erased the faces of Dorothy and the boys, the act of placing it there remains perfectly preserved. In the lunar vacuum, where time barely moves, the picture may be gone. But the love that put it there is permanent. The moon's accidental attic. While we often imagine the lunar surface as a pristine, silver desert, it has become a strange and silent museum of human history. Since 1959, Earth has deposited over 400,000 pounds of material across the moon. This lunar landfill is a mix of high-tech debris, scientific monuments, and the surprisingly mundane leftovers of 12 men who lived in a vacuum. To understand the scale of what remains, one must look at the three distinct layers of this accidental archive. The heavy machinery of science. The bulk of the weight comes from the big-ticket items. There are 6 lunar module descent stages. The spindly, gold foil legs of the Apollo ships, sitting exactly where they landed. Nearby, you'll find 3 lunar roving vehicles, the moon buggies, their batteries long dead, but their tire tracks still crisp in the dust. Astronauts also left behind massive ALSEP Apollo Lunar Surface Experiments package arrays, including seismometers that once listened for moonquakes, and laser reflectors that scientists on Earth still bounce beams off of today. To measure the moon's distance with millimeter precision, the poetic and the personal among the steel and silicon are objects meant for the heart, not the lab. The Fallen Astronaut, a 3.5-inch aluminum sculpture left by the Apollo 15 crew, lying next to a plaque listing 14 Soviet cosmonauts and American astronauts who died during the space race. The Silicon Goodwill Disc, a coin-sized treasure, containing microscopic messages of peace from the leaders of 73 nations, etched in a way that requires a microscope to read. The ashes of a legend, a small polycarbonate vial, containing a portion of the cremated remains of Eugene Shoemaker, the geologist who trained the Apollo astronauts. He remains the only human ever buried on another celestial body. The Apollo 11 plaque, attached to the Eagle's landing leg, it famously declares, "We came in peace for all mankind." The bizarre and the biological. Then, there is the clutter that makes the moon feel like a backyard after a long weekend. To save fuel for the return trip, every ounce of non-essential weight had to be ditched. This resulted in 96 bags of human waste, left behind by various crews. These white jettison bags, or jet bags, contain feces, urine, and food scraps. Biologists are fascinated by them, wondering if any Earth bacteria survived the decades of radiation. Equipment graveyards, dozens of Hasselblad cameras, minus the film, pairs of lunar boots, portable life support backpacks, and even hammocks, used for sleeping inside the modules. Recreational relics, 2 golf balls hit by Alan Shepard, who famously claimed they went miles and miles, and the falcon feather used by David Scott to prove Galileo's theory that in a vacuum, a feather and a hammer fall at the same rate. Together, these items form a chaotic, beautiful time capsule. They prove that when humans travel, we don't just bring our brains and our machines, we bring our waste, our playfulness, and our desperate need to be remembered. Why it matters. The moon is described as lifeless, but it is now full of our stories. It holds footprints that may last millions of years and machines that will never rust. Charles Duke is still alive today. As of 2026, he is in his 90s, one of the last living moonwalkers. Somewhere on Earth, a grandfather can still point to the night sky and know that while his footprints may be silent, his family is still up there, watching the Earth rise. Maybe one day, a future explorer will stumble across a faded square of plastic in the dust. They might not recognize the faces, but if they turn it over and read the ink that survived the sun, they will understand the most important lesson of space travel. Space exploration isn't just about how far we can go. It's about what we choose to carry with us when we get there.
It's time to study new words in context. 1. Bleach. Definition: to make something lose its color, often by sunlight or chemicals. Example: the strong sunlight bleached the photo until it looked almost white. 2. Insistence. Definition: a strong belief or demand that something must happen or be true. Example: her insistence on telling the truth made others trust her. 3. Pristine. Definition: very clean, fresh, or in perfect condition, like new. Example: the snow looked pristine before anyone walked on it. 4. Debris. Note the pronunciation. Definition: small broken pieces of something, usually after damage or destruction. Example: after the storm, debris covered the streets. 5. Mundane. Definition: ordinary, common, and not exciting. Example: washing dishes is a mundane task that we do every day. 6. Big ticket. Definition: very expensive or important. Example: a house is a big ticket item that requires careful planning. 7. Spindly. Definition: thin, long, and weak looking. Example: the plant had spindly stems that bent in the wind. 8. Seismometer. Definition: a tool that measures shaking in the ground, like during an earthquake. Example: scientists used a seismometer to study moonquakes. 9. Cosmonaut. Definition: a Russian astronaut who travels in space. Example: the cosmonaut spent several months on the space station. 10. Clutter. Definition: a messy collection of things that are not organized. Example: his desk was full of clutter, making it hard to find anything. 11. Ditched. Definition: thrown away or left behind, often quickly or without care. Example: they ditched their heavy equipment to move faster. 12. Jettison bag. Definition: a bag used to throw away or leave items behind, especially in space. Example: the astronauts used a jettison bag to get rid of trash before leaving the moon.
Comprehension questions. 1. What is unusual about the moon according to the beginning of the article? Answer. The moon has no wind, rain, or sound, and nothing moves unless someone moves it. 2. What object has remained on the moon for more than 50 years? Answer. A small plastic-wrapped photograph of a family. 3. Who was Charles Duke? Answer. He was an astronaut who walked on the moon during the Apollo 16 mission. 4. Why did Charles Duke want to bring a photo of his family to the moon? Answer. He missed his family during training and wanted to include them in his journey. 5. What promise did Duke make to his sons? Answer. He promised to take them to the moon with him in a symbolic way. 6. What did Duke write on the back of the photo? Answer. He wrote that it was his family from Earth, and that he landed on the moon in April 1972. 7. Why is Duke's action described as a quiet act of rebellion? Answer. Because NASA strictly controlled what astronauts could bring, but he still brought something personal. 8. How do we know the photo was really left on the moon? Answer. Because Duke took a picture of the photo on the moon before leaving. 9. What probably happened to the photo over time? Answer. It was likely bleached and damaged by radiation and extreme temperatures. 10. About how much material have humans left on the moon? Answer. More than 400,000 pounds of material. 11. Name one example of scientific equipment left on the moon. Answer. A seismometer or a laser reflector. 12. What is the fallen astronaut? Answer. A small sculpture that honors astronauts and cosmonauts who died. 13. Who is Eugene Shoemaker and what is special about him? Answer. He was a scientist whose ashes were sent to the moon, making him the only person buried there. 14. Why did astronauts leave waste and equipment on the moon? Answer. To reduce weight so they could return safely to Earth. 15. What is the main message of the article? Answer. Space exploration is not only about science, but also about human emotions, memories, and what we choose to carry with us.